Taliban 2.0. How many times did we hear those words last year? A changed Taliban, a modern Taliban. Some even called it a reformed Taliban. Well, tonight we have news for all those people. There is no Taliban 2.0. It is the same group of regressive and radicalized men. They oppose rights for women. They harbor and promote terrorism. They persecute minorities. And they despise free and independent press. On that last one, we have first-hand experience now. If you're active on Twitter, you may already know what I'm talking about. WION's correspondent Anas Mallick went missing in Kabul yesterday. We tried texting him, we tried his phone numbers, no luck. Nobody had any clue where he was. We also reached out to the hotel where he was staying. Turns out, Anas never returned. At that point, we knew that something was wrong. Our office reached out to the Pakistani embassy in New Delhi. We also contacted the Taliban's foreign office. Everyone in the newsroom was tense. After all, this was Afghanistan, not exactly friendly territory for any journalist, let alone a foreign reporter. And we were right. Anas was picked up by the Taliban around Thursday afternoon. He was dragged out of his vehicle. He was blindfolded and handcuffed. And he was held for 21 hours at an unknown location. They gave him no reason, no judicial order, not even a chance to use his mobile phone. You can imagine how terrifying it was. Anas will join us on the show in a couple of minutes from now, and we will hear directly from him about what happened in custody. But before that, let's dissect this entire episode. Here you have a reporter, a foreign correspondent, who is accredited by the government. His papers are in order. He has got all the permissions. He's on the road filming what we call generic visuals. It's pretty innocuous stuff, like a few cars or a building or a market. And out of nowhere, he gets picked up by a Taliban patrol. He's held without cause. He's physically assaulted, even accused of being a foreign spy. What does that tell you about the Taliban regime, this regime in Kabul? Can we even call it a regime? This incident may have happened to our reporter, but it sums up 1 year of the Taliban rule. In fact, that's why Anas was in Kabul in the first place, to report on the first anniversary of the Taliban's takeover. The Kabul he landed in was tense. Last Sunday, the US carried out a drone strike in the city. They killed Al-Qaeda chief Ayman al-Zawahiri. Anas actually visited that building. He drove through the locality and sent us these pictures. Take a look. Is this why the Taliban was targeting him? Or was it just a random patrol acting out of place? Either way, the Taliban owe us answers. They owe his family answers. Imagine what it was like for them. Anas Mallick's brother Hassan tweeted this out today. He requested the Pakistan Foreign Office to get involved. Soon social media was abuzz with the news. Opposition leaders in Pakistan were talking about Anas. Journalists, activists, government officials, everyone was concerned. But the Taliban could not care less, it seems. They were busy interrogating and assaulting an accredited journalist. First, they accused him of being a Pakistani spy, then of being an Indian spy, and finally of being a CIA spy. This level of incompetence would be funny if we did not know the backstory. The fact is, the Taliban have not changed. They did the same things in the 1990s. They're doing the same things in 2022. In fact, I have some numbers for you. 160 former government officials killed, 173 media workers assaulted, make that 174 after today, 700 civilians killed in armed conflict, 0 girls in high schools and colleges, and dozens of terror attacks by the Islamic State. This is the Taliban's 1-year track record. Exclusion, persecution, and bloodshed. How is this different from the first Taliban regime? Yes, this time they tweet out their official statements. Last time, they had no smartphones. Other than that, where is the difference? The first Taliban regime protected al-Qaeda chief Osama bin Laden. This regime protected his successor, Ayman al-Zawahiri. The West may have announced sanctions to hurt the Taliban, but their leaders are not bothered. The sanctions are hurting the people, not the regime. Just think about it. If the Taliban was concerned about global perception, would they abduct a journalist? Would they assault him? The Taliban know they can get away with such excesses. Why? Because the world lets them. In this case, our reporter Anas Mallick was lucky. The pressure campaign was enough to get him released. He's back home safely in Islamabad. But his Kabul associates are not. Both his driver and his translator are still in Taliban custody, last we checked. Until they're released, this is not over. And now, let's hear from Anas Mallick himself. He's joining us from Islamabad. I'm sure he's tired after what he's been through in the last 2 days. But his story is one that must be told. Anas, good evening. It's very good to see you safe and sound. How are you doing? And has the experience sunk in yet? I'd like you to share with our viewers, what were your thoughts when you took the flight out of Kabul this afternoon?
Well, thank you so much, everyone, Palki, back to viewers as well, back in India, all over the world, for reaching out, for tweeting, for texting. I've been overwhelmed with the tweets, with the messages, and thanks to WION, thanks to everyone back at office as well, for being there like a rock solid right behind me, backing me and putting the pressure on the Taliban authorities. The experience is yet to sink in, to be very honest, because I'm still going through that mental trauma or the ordeal, because still not over. I mean, a moment back, I was on the phone. I got a location to be at another colleague's bureau and for lunch, and just in seconds, within 10 or probably less than that, in a snap, everything just changes. You're intercepted. The driver is out of the car. Your phones are taken away. I mean, it felt like a bad dream, to be very honest. But to the last part of your question, when I was leaving Kabul, I was very emotional. There was an Afghan family right next to me, and they said, we saw you on TV, and we were reading about your reports you were missing. I couldn't hold back my tears at that point of time. I said, I really love this country. But unfortunately, the regime over here right now is not what you can regard as humans. And what has happened is tragic. I would love to come back, but not in these conditions. And I was given a hug by that family, because Afghanistan is, despite of being a neighbor, it is something that remains close to my heart on a very personal note. I was sent for the first time in 2018 by WION in September 2018, and since then it's almost been a yearly affair that I have to be there. I have been there in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 until the run-up of the fall, and even now. So it's something that's very close, that's very that you connect to. But the last part of your question, I'm still yet to fully get over the fact that this happened. The assault was this extreme. I still have bruises on the back of my on the back of my ear, on the back of my left ear, on my back, on my hip. I mean, literally all over the body. It's something that you'd never expect for an accredited journalist, for an international journalist, for somebody who has been known to the Taliban as well, because we were there. We were the only Indian network in Kabul to be at the time of the fall of Kabul, and we were there extensively 3 months post takeover. So I was literally at all the press conferences, at all the background briefings, meet the press, you name it. And despite of all of this, this happened. So it was honestly a very, very, very bad dream. Palki?
I can imagine, and what you've gone through, Anas, is trauma. It will take time for you to heal, both physically and mentally, and we can only wish you more strength. You travel the length and breadth of Afghanistan, like you just told our viewers that you've been going there almost every year for the past few years. You've reported extensively during the very volatile transition last year, and thankfully nothing untoward happened. So what do you think changed this time?
I think there's more to do with this security fear, the Taliban fear of being shown or not, or rather being shown the side that they do not want to be projected. When you go for the accreditation, you are given a long lecture on don'ts and media ethics. In fact, I was given one such lecture yesterday as well during my interrogation, as I would say, on what are the ethics of media. I mean, I still do not know the reasons of why I was picked up, because if it was to do with any footage, that matter was actually cleared up within seconds. But particularly if I talk to you, this is much to do with that fear that they think that they will be exposed if there is truly a free press, if there is truly free reportage from there. And that's why we've been seeing last week we saw Lynn O'Donnell being picked up and being forced to tweet something, the FP columnist, and this week it was me, and next week it could be from somebody from the other networks. But as journalists, we have a responsibility to tell the truth. We've always advocated at WION, be that be our coverage from Afghanistan or Ukraine, that we have to tell the story and not be our story ourselves. In my 7 years, this is unfortunately the first time that this time it is me who is the story, and I'm not telling somebody's story, and that is something that is truly tragic, at least on a personal note. Palki?
I can understand, Anas. I'm sure you made many friends in Afghanistan. The kind of outpour of support that we saw across borders, across the journalistic fraternity, both in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, was testimony to what you've done as a journalist. What is your advice for reporters, for journalists who are still in Afghanistan, many of whom reached out to us, like I said, to ask about you? What would you say to them?
Well, I would rather tell them to hold their ground, to report what they have to, and to be firm, to stand firm, because the truth has to be spoken. The truth has to get out. We all have a bigger responsibility on our own shoulders, and I'm truly indebted to all of those journalists, to all of the people, be that be from Pakistan, Afghanistan, or India, elsewhere. Realistically speaking, I'm indebted to all of them for all their efforts to ensure that I was out safe, and it is because of all of the collective efforts, especially thanks to WION and then the Pakistani government as well. The Pakistani embassy got involved, but by and large it was because of all of this because of all of this emotion and their outpour for me, for the work that we have been doing at WION, is a reflection that I'm standing here in one piece, though badly bruised, but I still pray for the safety of our local producer Zakaria and our driver Mai Al-Kharuti, though both who are still in custody of the Taliban. They say that they will be released by Sunday. If I just compare the amount of physical assault, they'd be having 75%, and I was subjected to 25% if we were to do it out of 100, and that is what it is realistically. I pray for them, I pray for their families, and I just hope that they should not be, and they would not be rather be subjected to any more harsh torture or any more assault, and rather they would be able to walk free as free humans, as free Afghans very, very soon. Palki?
Yes, we all hope that, Anas, and I'm going to leave it at that, but I want to say very well done. We're all proud of you, and more power to you. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.